You hit the gym consistently. You push hard. You think you're applying progressive overload. But let me tell you something potentially controversial. Almost everyone is doing progressive overload wrong. And that single fundamental misunderstanding is the hidden reason your gains have stalled, why you're hitting plateaus, and why you feel stuck.
Whoa, Dr. Sharma, everyone is doing it wrong? That's a huge statement. Because progressive overload feels like the bedrock of lifting. Add more weight, get stronger, get bigger. Isn't that the golden rule? I literally just focus on adding another 5 pounds to the bar whenever I can. Am I really missing something crucial? Welcome back to Strength Unleashed, the podcast where we forge powerful bodies and disciplined minds through science and strategy. I'm Chris Miller.
And I'm Dr. Adrian Sharma. Chris, that just add weight mentality is exactly the trap most lifters fall into. It's the most obvious form of progressive overload, but it's only one piece of a much larger puzzle. Relying solely on increasing load leads inevitably to form breakdown, injury, frustration, and those dreaded plateaus. Today, we're dissecting the progressive overload paradox, why simply trying to force more weight often stops progress, and revealing the 5 true methods of progressive overload that elite athletes and coaches use to guarantee continuous, long-term muscle growth.
Okay, the progressive overload paradox. I like that. It perfectly describes hitting a wall even when you feel like you're trying harder by adding weight. So let's redefine it. What is progressive overload if it's not just about adding weight?
At its core, progressive overload is the principle of gradually increasing the stress placed upon the musculoskeletal and nervous system during exercise over time. The key word is stress, not just weight. Your body adapts to the demands placed upon it. To continue adapting, i.e. growing stronger or bigger, the demand must continually increase. The way you increase that demand is where most people get tunnel vision.
So stress can mean more than just how heavy the barbell is. That's the paradigm shift.
Exactly. Let's start with the most common and often misused method. Method 1, increasing load, or intensity. This involves adding more weight to the bar, using a heavier dumbbell, or increasing the resistance level on a machine for the same number of reps.
The one we all know and focus on. Why is it so effective, and where does it go wrong?
It's effective because increasing load directly increases mechanical tension on the muscle fibers, which is a primary driver of both strength gains and muscle hypertrophy. Lifting heavier weight forces greater muscle fiber recruitment and signals the body to adapt by building stronger and often larger muscle tissue. It's simple to track and provides clear milestones. But you can't increase the weight indefinitely, especially not linearly. Eventually, you hit strength limits. Pushing for more weight before you're truly ready leads to form breakdown, using momentum, shortening the range of motion, relying on supporting muscles, basically cheating. This reduces tension on the target muscle and increases injury risk. Neurofatigue, constantly pushing maximal loads, taxes the central nervous system heavily, potentially leading to burnout and regression. Joint stress, heavy loads, especially with imperfect form, place significant stress on joints and connective tissues. Plateaus. If weight is the only tool you use, you'll hit a wall where you simply can't add more weight safely or effectively.
That form breakdown point is huge. I see so many people sacrificing form just to add another 5 pounds. It feels counterproductive. What's the mindset needed to use this method correctly?
The mindset is earned progression. Mastery first. Own the current weight with perfect technique through the desired rep range before even thinking about adding more load. Record your sets, reps, and how they felt. Was it clean? Was there struggle? Incremental jumps. Use microplates or small increments. A 2.5-pound jump is still progress. Honesty over ego. If adding weight means your form turns ugly, you haven't truly overloaded the muscle. You've just overloaded your ego and joints. Be willing to stay at a weight until mastery is achieved. This requires discipline.
So we've established that while increasing load is powerful, it's limited and requires immense discipline. This brings us directly to method 2, increasing repetitions. Reps. Okay, so doing more reps with the same weight counts as progressive overload.
How does that work?
Absolutely. Let's say last week you bench pressed 185 pounds for 8 reps with good form. This week, you bench press 185 pounds for 9 reps with good form. Have you increased the stress on the muscle? Undeniably, yes. You performed more work.
That makes sense. It's a different kind of harder. What kind of adaptations does focusing on increasing reps drive?
Increasing reps with the same load primarily increases metabolic stress within the muscle, the buildup of lactate, hydrogen ions, and other byproducts associated with muscular fatigue, often felt as the burn. This is another significant pathway for muscle hypertrophy, particularly sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, increased cell volume.
So adding weight targets mechanical tension more, and adding reps targets metabolic stress more.
That's a great way to think about it, although there's overlap. Both contribute to growth. The practical application often involves using rep ranges. For example, you might work within an 8 to 12 rep range. Start with a weight you can do for 8 clean reps. Focus on adding reps each week with that same weight. Once you hit 12 reps cleanly, then you've earned the right to increase the weight slightly and drop back down to 8 reps, restarting the cycle.
That's a much more structured and sustainable approach than just trying to slap on more weight every single session. It builds progression into the plan.
It's called double progression. You progress first in reps, then in weight. It ensures you're truly getting stronger and building capacity at a given load before increasing it, promoting better form and reducing injury risk.
Mind blown already. Just understanding that adding reps is progressive overload opens up so many possibilities for breaking plateaus. What's the next method?
The next logical step after mastering reps and load is method 3, increasing volume, sets. Let's explore how doing more work overall drives adaptation.
More sets. Sounds simple, but I bet there's a science to it.
Now we're debunking the myths of progressive overload. We've covered increasing load and reps. Now, let's talk about method 3, increasing volume via sets.
So simply doing more sets of the same exercise at the same weight and reps. If I did 3 sets of 10 last week, doing 4 sets of 10 this week is progressive overload.
Correct. Volume, typically calculated as sets times reps times weight, is a major driver of hypertrophy. By adding a set, you significantly increase the total workload and stimulus placed on the muscle within that session. If you successfully complete that extra set with good form, your body has adapted and handled more stress.
How do we know how many sets are optimal? Is more always better?
Definitely not. There's a dose-response relationship, but also a point of diminishing returns and eventually negative returns, overtraining. Research suggests a broad range for hypertrophy, often cited as 10 to 20 hard sets per muscle group per week. Beginners need less, advanced lifters might handle and need more. Increasing volume should be done strategically and gradually. Adding 1 set to an exercise or 2 per week can be a sustainable way to progress volume over a training block.
So adding sets is a powerful tool, especially for muscle growth, but we need to manage fatigue. This requires listening to your body and smart programming, tying back to that disciplined mindset.
Precisely, which leads nicely into method 4, increasing frequency.
Frequency. Hitting the same muscle group more often per week. How does that work as overload if the individual workouts aren't necessarily harder?
Increasing frequency provides more frequent stimuli for muscle protein synthesis. After a workout, MPS is elevated for roughly 24 to 48 hours. By hitting a muscle group, let's say 3 times a week with moderate volume versus once a week with very high volume, a traditional body part split, you might achieve more total time with elevated MPS, potentially leading to more growth over the long term, assuming recovery is managed.
So instead of one massive chest day, maybe hitting chest with fewer sets on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Exactly. That's the principle behind many full body or upper-lower splits. The overload comes from the cumulative weekly stress and the increased number of growth signals. However, this requires careful management of volume per session. You can't just triple your weekly volume by training 3 times instead of 1 time. Each session needs to be calibrated to allow for recovery before the next.
Another strategic layer. It really shows how simplistic the just add weight idea is.
Okay, we've got load, reps, sets, frequency. What's the fifth method?
Method 5. Decreasing rest time between sets.
Cutting rest periods? I usually just rest until I feel ready. How does resting less make me progress?
Decreasing rest time increases training density. You're performing the same amount of work or more in less time. This significantly increases metabolic stress and cardiovascular demand. While longer rest periods, 2 to 3+ minutes, are generally better for maximizing strength and mechanical tension, allowing fuller recovery between heavy sets, shorter rest periods, 30 to 90 seconds, can be a powerful stimulus for hypertrophy via metabolic pathways and enhancing muscular endurance.
So if my goal shifts more towards hypertrophy or conditioning, I could keep the weight, reps, and sets the same, but gradually cut my rest times down, and that is progressive overload?
Absolutely. If you did 3 sets of 10 with 90 seconds rest last week, and this week you do 3 sets of 10 with the same weight but only 75 seconds rest, you have undoubtedly increased the difficulty and stress of the workout. This is a fantastic tool to use during specific phases or for certain exercises.
Load, reps, sets, frequency, density. My mind is racing with possibilities. It feels like plateaus shouldn't even exist if you understand these. Is there anything else?
There's one more crucial method, often overlooked but perhaps the most fundamental of all. We'll unveil that and discuss how to integrate all these methods intelligently in our final segment. We've explored 5 distinct methods of progressive overload: load, reps, sets, frequency, and decreasing rest. Now for the often forgotten yet foundational method.
The suspense. What is this ultimate overlooked method, Dr. Sharma?
Method 6, the foundation: improving form and technique, execution quality.
Improving form? How is doing the exercise better a form of overload?
Think about it. If last week you performed a squat with slightly rounded back and limited depth, and this week you perform it with a perfectly neutral spine, hitting full depth with the same weight and reps, have you not placed more effective stress on the target muscles, quads and glutes, and less on vulnerable structures, spine? Better technique leads to increased muscle activation, putting tension precisely where you intended, greater range of motion, often allowing for more muscle damage and growth stimulus, like a deeper squat or stretch, reduced injury risk, allowing for safer and more consistent training long-term, foundation for future progression. Perfecting form unlocks the ability to safely add more load, reps, or sets later. It's the prerequisite for all other methods.
So focusing on technique isn't just about safety, it is a way to make the exercise more effectively stressful on the muscle, thus driving adaptation. That completely reframes the importance of form mastery.
It is the bedrock upon which all other progression rests. Now the key isn't just knowing these 6 methods, but integrating them intelligently. They are not mutually exclusive. How do we combine them? Do we try to do all of them at once? No, that leads to burnout. Smart training involves periodization, systematically varying the training focus. You might have a strength block, 4 to 6 weeks, primarily focus on increasing load method 1, in lower rep ranges, 3 to 6, using longer rest periods. You might keep sets and frequency moderate. A hypertrophy block, 6 to 8 weeks, focus shifts to increasing reps, method 2, within moderate ranges, increasing sets, method 3, potentially decreasing rest times slightly, method 5. Load increases are secondary to volume and quality reps. And a deload or technique week, focus purely on form execution, method 6, with lighter weights allowing recovery. Frequency, method 4, is often determined by your overall training split, full body, upper, lower, etc.
So it's about cycling the emphasis between different types of overload rather than just hammering one method relentlessly. This requires planning and patience.
Exactly. And this solves the progressive overload paradox. The reason people plateau trying to just add weight is because they neglect the other vital ways to increase stress. By understanding and strategically applying all methods, you give your body varied stimuli and multiple avenues for continued adaptation.
This requires a significant mindset shift away from just chasing numbers on the bar.
It demands the strength unleashed mindset. Be a scientist. Track everything meticulously. Weight, reps, sets, rest, how it felt. Data guides progression. Patience and consistency. Real growth takes time. Focus on small, consistent steps using any of the overload methods. Honesty and humility. Prioritize perfect execution, method 6, over ego lifting, misapplied method 1. Be willing to deload or focus on reps and sets when needed. Strategic planning. Think in terms of training blocks, periodization. Don't just wing it week to week.
This requires a significant mindset shift away from just chasing numbers on the bar.
It demands the strength unleashed mindset. Stop doing progressive overload wrong. Understand the full toolkit, apply it strategically with discipline and patience, and unlock continuous, sustainable gains.
Dr. Sharma, thank you. You've truly demystified progressive overload and given us a practical, powerful framework for breaking through any plateau.
The knowledge is powerful, but application is everything. Go apply these principles consistently.
For everyone ready to implement a full year of strategic progressive overload, keep an eye out for our upcoming guide, but start applying these 6 methods today. If you need a foundation program built on these principles, check out our Growth Foundation program linked in the description.
If this breakdown shattered your old view of progressive overload, smash that like button, subscribe to Strength Unleashed for more deep dives into training science, and leave a comment. Which method of progressive overload have you been neglecting the most?
Go unleash your potential.